Advice for the dying. And we're all dying. So yes, this one's for you. Yes, you. This video is inspired by my chapter 7 in my book called Advice for the Dying, and I just want to read to you the very first paragraph. The very first paragraph says it all. So here it goes. Not everyone gets the chance to know they're going to die, but there are certain circumstances, such as a terminal diagnosis, when we do more or less know. If you're in such a situation, the best thing you can do for yourself is to ask yourself, how do you want to die? Because if you know how you want to die, it will help you decide with the time that you have left how you want to live. And this is what I want to say over and over again. People thinking about their own death or planning for their own death or thinking about what they'd want their end of life to look like seems so scary. Why would they do that? That's so morbid. But from my experience, what I've seen with all of my dying patients, the ones who were willing to do that seemed to live better. They seemed to live better. And because they lived better, they died better. They died more peacefully. They died more prepared. Their family was more prepared. If you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for your family. Because providing that for your family can be a great, great gift for them. So here are some practical things you can do to plan for your end of life. Number 1, ask for help. This is the time, especially if you really know that you are end of life, like you're on hospice or you've gotten some kind of terminal diagnosis. This is the time for you to ask for help. You are going to need people to help you. So you're going to need to talk to people about what's going on with you, how they can help you. If you need physical support, if you need emotional support, if you need moral support, people to come to your doctor's visits with you, people to be in the home with you. We live in a world that creates hyper independence, and towards the end of life, you can't do it alone. You can't. And it's really, really hard to do it alone. So ask for help. If you are in this situation now where it's like you actually immediately need help, start doing that. But if you're someone who's watching this video who knows that would be really difficult for you when the time came, start trying to implement little things in your life where you're not so hyper independent. Like work on asking for help, even in little things. I need help taking the garbage out. Can you help me with this appointment? You know, little things in life now. Like right now, I know I'm not actively dying. I don't have a terminal diagnosis, but I know that I have trouble asking for help. So I purposely daily work on trying to ask for help little by little. Let me give you a great example of this. The story is also in my book, and I call this woman Pearl. This is a great example of someone who probably was just used to living her life like this and wasn't even aware how hyper independent she was. So let me paint you the picture. I'm a hospice nurse. I'm doing a follow-up visit. I walk to the front door and I knock on the door and I hear someone calling from inside telling me to go to the side door. So I'm like, okay. So I walk to the side door and the side door is unlocked. And I'm like, hello? I walk in and I hear Pearl go, oh, come on in. I'm in the living room. I go into the living room. There's sweet Pearl sitting in this chair, and I was like, oh, what are you doing? Because she was kind of sitting in the chair like in the middle of the room by herself, not doing anything. And I was like, oh, what are you doing? You know, how are you? She was like, oh, I'm good. Yeah, I just can't really seem to get up, so I've just been sitting here. I'm gonna wait until my grandson gets off work. And I'm like, oh, you can't walk? You know? And she was like, no, it seems like I can. I've gotten really weak the past couple days. You know, normally my sister lives here with me, but she went on vacation for the week, so I'm here by myself. And it's okay, it's okay. My grandson will be here later. He can help me and get me lunch and get me up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, when's your grandson get off work? She goes, oh, 3 o'clock. It was like 10 a.m. And I'm like, Pearl, I think I'm going to let you just sit here in this chair till 3 o'clock? How are you going to go to the bathroom? How are you going to get food? Like, what are you planning on doing, you know? And she was like, oh, it's fine, it's fine. She was on dialysis. She wasn't urinating because she is on dialysis, so she wasn't going to like wet herself, but still. She can't sit in a chair until 3 p.m. So I was like, Pearl, honey, no. First off, I'm here. Let me help you. Have you eaten yet? And I fixed her some food. She told me where the stuff was and I made her a little plate of food. She was like, oh my gosh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm like, it's okay. Like, ask for help. As I'm saying this, as I'm kind of lecturing her, right? She gets a phone call. And she's like, excuse me. Picks up the phone. Guess who it is? I can hear him on the other line. It's her grandson. her grandson's like, hey, Grandma, how you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm good. The nurse is here. She just got me some food. And I can hear him being like, oh, that's great, blah, blah, blah. Do you need anything? I can come home from work early. Like, what can I bring you? What's going on? Like, are you okay? I hear her say, no, honey, I'm okay. I'll see you at 3. Hangs up the phone. Pearl, what did I just tell you? You are not okay. It's not okay for you to be unable to walk and move. If I didn't come here, you wouldn't have been able to eat. Like, your grandson just said he wants to help you. He needs to know these things. She's like, okay. This is what I mean by, like, I think she wasn't even aware of what she was doing. I said, can I call your grandson? She said, yes. So I called the grandson and I said what was going on. And I said, listen, she seems extra weak. She can't get up. Normally she can. He was surprised. Like, she can't get up. She can't walk. Like, since when? What happened? So this was like a new thing. Sure enough, he's like, I'll be right there. Not only did he come, he must have called someone else. They must have called someone else. There was like 3 other people in the house by in 15 minutes because Pearl was deeply loved. Loved so much that you say one little thing and a bunch of people came running. So it's just a great example of you need to learn to voice and say what you need and want. There are people ready to love you, ready to care for you. And if there's not, say you don't have any family, you can always ask someone like me, the hospice nurse, and I can get the social worker involved to start, getting things better managed at the home so you don't have to be alone. So it's important to ask for help, know when you need help, and don't forget to advocate for yourself. And of course, after that day, Pearl did get the help she needed. And her sister actually ended up flying home from vacation because Pearl ended up really having a turn and ended up peacefully dying later that week. There you have it. It's like she was able to finally advocate for herself and see how all of her people were able to show up for her once they knew what was really happening. So second, use your resources. Now, if you're already on hospice, this is what I mean by that. Hospice is a huge resource. It's not just the nurse visiting, right? It's the doctor, the nurse, the social worker, the chaplain, the CNA, volunteers. All of those people are there to help you. It is a full system of people that I think a lot of people will say, no, it's okay. I don't need the social worker to come in, or no, it's okay. I don't need a volunteer. I would say utilize everything you can get because it will be helpful and it will be less stressful for you if you have many people in your world trying to help you with things. Cleaning up the house a little bit, going for groceries. The social worker can help try to get you in different groups, maybe Meals on Wheels, things like that to help get food delivered. So you just never know. So use your resources. Third, and this is very important for anyone dying. And guess what? What did I say? That's all of us. That's you watching this. That's me telling you this. We are all going to go through this. So it's important that we start learning and having difficult conversations. If you don't know how to bring up the conversation, say it's your mother who's getting older and you don't know how to talk to her about hey mom, you're getting older. I need to know what you want. Do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated? It's hard to start that conversation. So how I do it is I say, can you help me? I really need some help with something. I know that you're okay now and you're living independently and you seem like you're doing everything great. Eventually that may change. And when it changes, I want to know what you want. Do you want to be in and out of the hospital? Do you want to be taken to my home where I can care for you better if this is your mom, right? Like ask different questions about what they would want if something were to happen to them. Would they want to be in a nursing home? Would they want to have paid caregivers? Is that even financially doable? So you start the conversation out by asking them to help you. Knowing this information will help you better know what they would want. And that usually can get the conversation going and you can get some answers. And just know that if you haven't done it before, it is going to be uncomfortable. It can be a little messy. We might mix up our words a bit, but it's okay. That's normal. Also, if you truly are on hospice right now and listening to this, or you know someone who is, and it's imminent that you will be dying or they will be dying soon, if possible, talk about things you need to talk about how you're feeling about it. About your true feelings and thoughts about end of life. Are you angry? Are you mad? Are you upset? Are you okay? Are you at peace? Are you confused? All of those things are normal and okay. And the more we can talk about it, usually the less of a grip it'll have on us. So there's something about the resistance of it all, resisting it or feeling like I shouldn't feel scared or I shouldn't be afraid, that kind of keeps that grip on us. So talk about it. Lastly, talk about what's unresolved. And then in my book, I have a little quote, maybe. Meaning, like, if the person that is dying has never been emotionally mature or isn't a safe person to talk about how they feel or how you feel, maybe this is not the time. Like, just because they're dying doesn't mean they're suddenly going to be like a good person who can talk about how they feel, right? So maybe talk to someone else, a therapist or a trusted friend, about how you're feeling or what's going on if the person's not safe. But if the person is safe, now is the time. You will never regret talking about unresolved things you need to talk about with your dying loved one. Or if you're the one dying, to your loved one who you need to resolve things with. You will not regret it. Even if it doesn't go the way you want, even if it's a little messy, at least you said the things you needed to say. One of the greatest regrets I hear most of my patients tell me is that they wish they would have done that, or they wish they had a chance to do it, or they wish they did it sooner. And lastly, the planning part, advanced planning. What does that even mean? This is in more detail in my book, chapter 7, but generally speaking, advanced planning means like advanced directives. So you can get that online. You can get a thing online called a POLST or a MOLST, where it's like a doctor's order saying like, do you want to have CPR? Do you want to be intubated? Do you want tube feeds? Or do you not want those things? Or there's only certain circumstances when you want those things. Advanced directives can give you more detail, and you can like write a bunch of detail things. The POLST or the MOLST is kind of like a down and dirty, quick way to do it. So either way, get those things written out best you can, give it to someone trusted, and know that you can do one today when you're 40. And of course, it's going to change over time. When you're 65, 70, 80, it may change, but it's still important to have those things written down so your loved ones know if something were to happen, they know what you want. Don't make the decision be up to them. Also with advanced care planning, financial estate planning. Now, I feel like that sounds fancy, so most people don't think they have an estate to plan or any kind of finances to plan, but generally speaking, we all do. We all do. You really should sit down with a lawyer, an estate planning lawyer, to help you figure out like where your house is going if you own a house, who's going to be the beneficiary to your bank or to this loan or that loan. You need to assign one person to all of those things, or multiple people depending on what you want. Generally speaking, even if you think you don't have an estate to plan, you do. And the more organized you are, the easier it's going to be for your family. So don't forget to be an advocate for yourself and for your loved ones. This will help you live better and die better.